The system of Veyron was unlike any other place in the galaxy. It was called the Meeting Star, a neutral ground where fleets of many empires gathered when great decisions had to be made. Around the white sun, hundreds of ships drifted in perfect formation. Some were shaped like shining arrows, others like living creatures, their hulls pulsing with strange lights. Each design spoke of a culture, a history, and a way of war. The council had been called after news of growing conflicts reached the outer worlds. The Torsen Empire was expanding faster than anyone expected. Smaller species feared they would soon be swallowed. Great powers argued about trade routes, military treaties, and ancient laws. For days, their fleets circled the star, waiting for the summit to begin. Inside the main chamber of the council station, tension filled the air. Alien voices echoed in different tones, translated into a common tongue. Tall figures with crystalline skin debated with scaled commanders who hissed their words like blades. Floating beings of gas argued with insect-like officials who clicked their mandibles in protest. Every species wanted to be heard, and every empire wanted to protect its power. At the center of it all was silence about one race: humanity. The name was spoken only in passing, like a rumor. To most, humans were little more than a restless young species from a small blue planet. They had spread quickly through nearby stars, mining asteroids, building colonies, and trading where they could. But in the eyes of the council, they were not worth much. They lacked tradition, they lacked ancient knowledge, and they lacked the fleets that gave weight to one's words. A tall delegate from the Arkan Dominion raised his voice. His eyes glowed like molten metal as he addressed the chamber. The humans cannot be trusted. They expand without respect for the order of the stars. They take, they build, and they ignore the wisdom of those who came before them. Others agreed. Murmurs of disapproval spread through the crowd. To the old empires, humanity was impatient and dangerous, a species that acted without asking permission. Yet there were also voices that urged caution. A smaller delegate from the Free Union of Velos tapped her thin fingers against the table. They may be young, but they have survived wars with little help. Reports say they faced enemies far larger than themselves and still endured. Should we not consider that a sign of strength? Her words were met with laughter from some and silence from others. Strength mattered, but strength without recognition meant little in the halls of the great. The council session stretched on. Arguments rose and fell like waves. Old rivals fought with words sharper than blades. Still, no decision was reached. The Torsen threat remained unsolved, and the question of how to handle the younger races remained unanswered. Then the alarm sounded. Red lights pulsed across the chamber walls. Communication officers rushed in with urgent reports. Fleets outside the station stirred in sudden movement. Commanders shouted as their ships aligned sensors toward the edge of the system. Something had entered Veyron. Something vast. Identify the intruder, the council leader demanded, his voice low but sharp. Silence followed. No one spoke at first. Then a voice from the comm stations trembled. It is a ship. A warship. Its signature is unknown. Energy output is higher than any vessel currently recorded in council archives. The chamber filled with noise again. Was it Torsen? Was it a rogue empire? Was it a new kind of weapon? Speculation spread like fire. Through the wide viewing windows of the station, delegates saw flashes of light far beyond the orbit of the outermost planet. A ripple in space, like water disturbed by a falling stone, spread outward. Slowly, something massive emerged. A hull dark against the stars, a shape too large to be ignored. The chamber grew quiet. Voices fell. Even the loudest warlords found no words. For the first time in the long history of the meeting star, every species gathered there felt the same weight pressing on their thoughts. They had expected rivals, allies, perhaps even enemies. They had not expected this. The unknown ship drifted closer, its silhouette blocking the light of distant stars. There was no message, no demand, no sound. Only presence. The silence was deep and heavy. In that moment, even before the full truth was known, every delegate and every commander understood that the galaxy was about to change. Humanity, once dismissed as a restless young species, was about to make its presence known in a way no one could ignore. And the visitors who had gathered to decide the fate of the stars now fell silent, waiting to see what would come next. The unknown warship moved steadily into the Veyron system. It did not rush. It did not cloak itself. Its engines glowed with steady light, sending a signal of confidence that needed no words. Every fleet turned their sensors toward it, trying to measure its power, trying to discover its origin. Inside the council chamber, the delegates leaned forward as new reports arrived. "It is massive," said a crystalline officer from the Uran collective. His voice carried unease, though his face showed no expression. "Larger than any destroyer, larger even than the Torsen dreadnoughts." "Impossible," hissed a scaled commander from the Zith Empire. "No such design exists in the archives. We would know if one of the great powers built such a thing." More voices joined in, debating and speculating. Some thought the intruder was a secret Torsen project, a hidden fleet prepared in silence for a surprise attack. Others wondered if it was the return of an ancient race long believed extinct. But one word kept returning, whispered in low voices across the chamber. "Humans." At first, no one wanted to say it loudly. Humanity was not supposed to have such power. Their fleets were small, their colonies scattered. Their ships, while durable, were not known for size or elegance. But rumors had spread over the years. Reports of human vessels surviving battles against stronger foes. Stories of ships that returned from wars where no one else survived. Strange tales of engineering that made no sense to the older species. The delegates exchanged uneasy looks. Could it be true? Out among the fleets, captains struggled to remain calm. The ship was still too far for clear detail, but the energy readings alone were terrifying. Its reactor glowed brighter than anything seen before. The heat signature suggested multiple layers of shielding. Its weapons arrays were unknown, but their alignment showed purpose. This was not a cargo ship. It was not an exploration cruiser. It was a battleship built for war. The Free Union envoy who had earlier spoken in defense of humanity leaned toward her console. Her thin fingers tapped at the incoming data. She whispered to herself before daring to speak aloud. "It matches the human signature. Not exactly, but close enough. I think it belongs to them." The room froze. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then voices erupted like a storm. "Impossible. Humans cannot build that. If this is true, the balance is broken. Then they must be stopped before it is too late." The council leader raised his hand for silence. He was old, his skin pale as bone, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. "Speculation will not guide us. We must confirm before we speak further. Send long-range hail. Demand identification." The order was carried out. Across the system, transmission beams shot toward the great vessel. Messages repeated in many languages, each asking the same thing: state your name, your purpose, your allegiance. For a time, There was no reply. The ship continued forward, steady and unbroken by the rising fear around it. Fleets began to shift positions. Warlords moved their cruisers into defensive formations. The Sith Empire readied weapons, while others ordered retreat to safer distances. Inside the chamber, the silence grew heavy. Delegates argued in whispers, afraid to raise their voices now. Even the boldest among them felt a strange weight pressing on their thoughts. The ship was still coming closer. It was not rushing, yet it felt unstoppable. Its sheer size was enough to command fear. It moved like a mountain carried through space, calm and certain of its power. Finally, one of the insect-like Velon clicked her mandibles together. Her translator shaped the sound into words. If it is human, then we were wrong about them. We thought they were children playing with fire. But children do not build giants. Another voice, deep and harsh, replied. Or perhaps they stole it. Perhaps they found a relic and claimed it as their own. That would explain its power. The arguments returned, though now quieter, edged with fear. Some wanted to attack immediately before the ship reached the inner system. Others demanded caution, warning that a strike might ignite a war greater than the Torsen threat. The council leader spoke again, his voice carrying weight. Until it speaks, we hold fire. If it seeks peace, we must hear it. If it seeks war, we will know soon enough. The order was given. All fleets were to hold position, weapons locked but not fired. The system fell into a strange balance, 1,000 ships pointing their weapons at the lone intruder, while none dared make the first move. And still the whispers spread. Crews aboard alien ships spoke in hushed tones, asking each other the same question. Could it truly be human? One officer aboard a silver cruiser of the Arkan Dominion said quietly what many feared to admit. If this is the humans' battleship, then the galaxy has already changed. We are no longer the ones who decide the order of the stars. They have arrived, and they will decide with us or against us. The unknown ship glided closer, its engines steady, its presence undeniable. It did not hurry, as if time itself belonged to it. Around it, the voices of the galaxy fell into silence once more. The whispers of the unknown had grown into one truth none could escape. Whoever commanded that vessel was about to step into history, and the Council of Stars would never be the same again. The fleets that circled the white sun of Veyron fell quiet as the intruder drew closer. The unknown ship glided forward with a steady rhythm, its thrusters glowing like a second star. For long minutes, no one spoke, no one moved. Across thousands of decks, alien crews stared at their screens, watching as the vessel's shape became clear. It was vast. Its hull stretched longer than the greatest carriers of the Sith Empire. Heavy plating covered it from bow to stern, dark metal layered in a way that spoke of resilience more than beauty. It did not gleam like the silver ships of the Arkan Dominion, nor did it twist with living designs like the organic fleets of the Velon. It was a wall of steel built for war. The council chamber filled with reports. Officers read aloud the dimensions, the power readings, the shield harmonics. Each figure made the delegates lean back with unease. The intruder was not only large, it was armed in ways they could not measure. Weapon ports lined its sides, silent but ready. Its armor was scarred in places, as if it had already fought in battles none of them had seen. It is not new, one commander whispered. It has seen war before. The thought struck fear through the chamber. If this was a weapon of the Torsen Empire, then their enemy had built something far greater than anyone imagined. If it was something else, then perhaps a new power had risen, one strong enough to rival them all. The ship drifted closer still. It passed through the outer fleets, its shadow falling across smaller cruisers. Alien captains tensed, their hands hovering over weapon controls, yet none fired. The silence was heavier than any battle cry. Then the first image cleared on the viewing screens. The intruder carried markings, not random scratches or meaningless shapes, but bold letters carved into the hull. The translators worked quickly, comparing the lines to known languages. The words appeared in the chamber. Iron resolve. A wave of shock moved through the crowd. Voices rose at once, some in disbelief, others in fear. It cannot be. Humans. They have built a Titan. The name was human. There was no doubt now. The whispers of the unknown had become truth. The humans had arrived, and they had brought with them something the galaxy had never seen before. The battleship Iron Resolve slowed as it entered the inner system. Its engines dimmed, and its massive frame drifted to a halt just outside the orbit of the Council station. For a moment, it seemed to rest there, watching, waiting. Inside, alien crews reported the silence. The ship broadcast no threat, no demand. Its weapons stayed cold, though every scan showed their deadly potential. The humans had come not as raiders or petitioners. They had come as equals, standing firm without a single word. In the council chamber, fear mixed with awe. Some delegates rose from their seats, pointing at the screens. This is arrogance. They dare enter our meeting ground uninvited. Others shook their heads. No. This is a message. They do not ask permission, because they believe they deserve a place here. The leader of the council leaned forward. His ancient eyes studied the great vessel. He had seen empires rise and fall, but he had never seen such confidence from a species so young. He spoke slowly, each word measured. If they came to beg, they would send envoys. If they came to threaten, they would fire. Yet they do neither. They simply stand. That alone should make us cautious. Beyond the windows, the battleship loomed, silent and immovable. Its armor bore scars, but none deep enough to break it. Every line of its design spoke of endurance, as if it had been built not just to fight but to survive every storm. Among the alien fleets, crews whispered to one another. Many had fought wars for centuries. They had seen grand flagships and terrible weapons. But never had a ship carried such presence without firing a single shot. It felt less like a vessel and more like a declaration carved into the stars. The Iron Resolve sent no signal at first. It simply remained there, casting its shadow across the gathered fleets. Hours passed. The tension did not ease. Instead, it deepened, pressing on every heart that watched. Some captains grew restless. A warlord of the Zith Empire sent a private message to his council, demanding permission to strike. Better to destroy it now before others follow. If this is their first, then more will come. But the order to fire never came. The council was divided, their fear outweighing their anger. To attack might mean destruction. To wait might mean surrender of pride. Yet no one dared to act without certainty. Finally, the battleship stirred. Lights along its hull brightened, engines shifting slightly as if it prepared to move again. At that same moment, a signal burst across all channels. It was not a demand. It was not a warning. It was a voice, calm and clear, speaking in the common tongue of the council. This is Captain Myra of the human battleship Iron Resolve. We come not as beggars, and not as conquerors. We come as equals. The chamber froze. Across the fleets, silence fell once more. The unknown had spoken, and its words were not what many had feared. But the weight of the ship, the scars on its hull, and the quiet strength in its commander's voice left no doubt. Humanity had entered the stars not as a whisper, but as a titan, and the galaxy would never look at them the same again. The voice of Captain Myra echoed across the system, carried through every fleet and every council channel. Her words were not loud, yet they struck like thunder. This is Captain Myra of the human battleship Iron Resolve. We come not as beggars, and not as conquerors. We come as equals. The statement lingered in the air. In the council chamber, hundreds of eyes turned to the screens. Delegates shifted in their seats, whispering to one another. On the bridge of every alien cruiser, officers paused, some staring in disbelief, others in quiet respect. The silence broke as the Sith warlord slammed his clawed hand against the table. His scales gleamed in the chamber light as his voice hissed with anger. Equals. They dare speak as if they are our kin. They are young, reckless, and without history. They have no right to stand here. A crystalline delegate from the Uran Collective nodded in agreement. His voice was sharp and cold. The humans expand without tradition. They ignore treaties, they build where they please, and they fight without understanding balance. If we welcome them as equals, we invite chaos. But not all voices joined in the rejection. The envoy of the Free Union of Velos rose slowly, her delicate frame casting a long shadow on the chamber floor. They have crossed the void and arrived here without fear. They carry strength, yes, but also discipline. The battleship is armed, yet it has not fired. Should we not listen before we judge? Her words stirred murmurs. The chamber was divided. Some called for dismissal, others for dialogue. The council leader raised his hand, and the room fell silent once more. His voice was calm, but his eyes studied the great vessel with deep caution. Open direct communication. Let us hear them face to face. A beam of light filled the center of the chamber as the connection formed. The image sharpened, revealing the bridge of the Iron Resolve. The human crew stood at their stations, dressed in dark uniforms marked with the crest of Earth. At the center, Captain Myra faced the council with steady eyes. She was not armored, nor did she raise her voice. She spoke with clarity, each word measured. Delegates of the council, humanity has long been watched from a distance. We know the stories told about us. That we are impatient. That we are reckless. That we are children playing with fire. But we are not children. We are survivors. She stepped forward, and the image revealed the scars on her ship's bridge, burns along the metal where battles had once raged. This ship has faced enemies who gave no quarter. We have fought against odds that should have broken us. Yet here we stand. Not to kneel, not to demand, but to claim the place we have earned. Some delegates stirred uncomfortably. Others listened with fascination. The words carried a weight they had not expected. Myra did not speak with arrogance. She spoke with the tone of someone who had endured storms and refused to break. The Sith warlord hissed again, leaning toward the screen. Strength alone does not grant respect. We are not impressed by scars. Myra did not flinch. Her gaze shifted toward him, calm and steady. Strength without control is destruction. We do not come to destroy. We come to stand. If you doubt our place, then test us. But know this: humanity does not bow. The chamber filled with sharp whispers. Some saw her words as defiance, others as courage. The tension rose higher with each breath. Fleets outside the station began shifting again, their captains preparing in case words failed. The council leader raised his voice, cutting through the chaos. Enough. We will not descend into threats here. Humanity has spoken. Their claim is made. The question is whether we, the council, accept it. The delegates fell silent. The decision was not simple. To accept humanity as equals would shift the balance of the galaxy. To deny them might ignite a conflict none desired. For a long moment, the chamber held its breath. Then Myra spoke again, softer this time, but her words carried across every ship. You may see us as young, but youth does not mean weakness. We have faced the dark of space with nothing but our hands and our will. We are still here. And we will remain, whether you accept us or not. But we would rather stand beside you than against you. Her words struck deep. Even those who doubted her felt the truth within them. Humanity was not asking for pity or for charity. They were declaring themselves with a steady voice, backed by the presence of their battleship. The image flickered as the channel closed, leaving the chamber in silence once more. Delegates looked at one another, their faces filled with uncertainty. Outside, the iron resolve waited, unmoving, patient as the stars. The galaxy had heard humanity's voice, and now the council had to answer. The chamber remained heavy with silence after Captain Myra's words. Delegates whispered among themselves, some leaning toward acceptance, others still clinging to doubt. Outside, the iron resolve waited, silent yet unshaken. It was then that the Sith warlord rose from his seat. His tall frame, wrapped in dark-scaled armor, cast a long shadow across the chamber floor. His eyes glowed with sharp fire, and his voice cut through the uneasy quiet. Enough of this talk. Words do not prove worth. Ships do. Fleets do. Humanity claims to stand as our equal, yet they have not shown the strength required. If they want to sit among us, let them prove it in battle. The declaration sent a wave of unrest through the chamber. Some delegates cheered in agreement, eager to see the humans tested. Others shook their heads, fearing the danger such a challenge would bring. The council leader raised his hand, but the warlord's voice thundered louder. I, Lord Vaynor of the Sith Empire, demand trial by combat. Let their battleship face my fleet. If they survive, then we will listen. If they fall, then their claim dies here. The council leader's face hardened. This is not a battlefield. We are gathered for peace. But the warlord struck the table with his clawed fist. Peace is built on strength. Without it, words are nothing. Before more could be said, a voice echoed across the system once again. It was Captain Myra. Calm, steady, unshaken. If it is proof you want, then proof you shall have. We will not flee from your challenge. Her words drew sharp gasps from some of the delegates. Others leaned forward, eager for the display. The chamber erupted in argument, but the decision was already made. The Sith fleet began to move. Outside, massive warships shifted into formation. Sleek, scaled vessels spread out like a net around the iron resolve. They armed their weapons, their engines glowing red with rising power. Crews aboard other fleets watched closely, their eyes wide as tension gripped every heart. On the bridge of the iron resolve, Captain Myra stood tall. Around her, her crew worked with calm discipline. No one panicked. No one begged to retreat. This was what the battleship had been built for. The first strike came without warning. A Sith cruiser fired a bolt of plasma across the void. It streaked toward the human ship, blazing bright as a star. The impact rocked the shields of the iron resolve, but they held firm. The energy rippled across its armor, leaving no mark. Shields at 98%, an officer reported. Myra's eyes narrowed. Hold fire. Not yet. The Sith warlord grinned on his command deck as his fleet opened fire. Streams of plasma, bursts of missiles, beams of cutting light all crashed against the human battleship. The void lit up like a storm, but the iron resolve did not break. It endured. Inside the council chamber, silence ruled once more. Delegates leaned forward, their eyes wide. They had expected the ship to shatter under the weight of so many weapons. Instead, it moved forward through the storm, its shields shimmering but unbroken. Finally, Myra gave her order. Target their forward cruisers. Disable, do not destroy. The crew obeyed. Energy surged through the ship's cannons, and beams of light lanced outward. Unlike the wild fury of the Sith, the human fire was precise. The first cruiser's engines sparked and died. A second had its weapons torn from its hull in a single, perfect strike. A third spun helplessly as its control systems failed. In less than a minute, 3 powerful Sith warships were disabled without being destroyed. The warlord's grin faded. Impossible, he growled, slamming his fist against his chair. Myra's voice carried across the system again. Calm, steady, unbroken. We do not seek destruction. We seek recognition. But know this: if we are forced to fight, we will fight with precision. We will fight with strength. And we will endure. The battle slowed. The Sith fleet hesitated. More of their cruisers aimed, but none fired. They had seen enough. Attacking further would mean humiliation. In the chamber, the delegates erupted again. Some shouted in awe, others in fear. But none could deny what they had seen. Humanity had not only survived the test, they had controlled it. They had shown restraint where others might have chosen slaughter. The council leader rose, his voice cutting through the chaos. The trial is ended. The humans have shown their strength. No more will be said of their unworthiness. The Sith warlord hissed in fury, but even he could not deny the truth. His fleet was intact but humiliated. The human battleship still floated, calm and unbroken, its guns now quiet but its presence louder than ever. Captain Myra's final words for the day rang out across the system. Humanity does not ask for a place among the stars. Humanity takes its place by right, through survival, through will, and through strength tempered with restraint. You can deny us with words, but you cannot deny what you have seen. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. The fleets held their positions, but none dared fire again. Humanity had passed the test. And the galaxy knew it. The test of strength had ended, yet the council chamber remained tense. Delegates sat in uneasy silence, each processing what they had witnessed. Humanity's battleship had proven its power without firing recklessly, and the lesson was clear: the humans were not to be underestimated. The council leader's voice finally broke the quiet. The humans have demonstrated both strength and discipline. That cannot be denied. But strength alone does not grant trust. They have yet to show us their intentions. Murmurs spread across the room. Some delegates were cautious, wary of placing faith in a young and unpredictable species. Others were curious, seeing opportunity where before there had been only doubt. The Free Union envoy of Velos spoke first. Her voice was calm but firm. Intentions can be judged by actions. They faced a superior fleet without destroying it. They chose precision over recklessness. That shows they are capable of reason. That shows they are capable of alliance. A crystalline officer of the Yoran collective shook his head. or it shows cunning. Humans may have the power to survive, but they also have the power to deceive. One act of restraint does not prove loyalty. They may still act in ways we cannot predict. The Sith warlord, still fuming from the defeat of his fleet, hissed in agreement. They may have survived, but their presence is a threat. They enter systems uninvited, confront our fleets, and speak as equals. How can we trust that they will not expand further and challenge all of us? The council leader raised his hand, silencing the chamber. Fear does not guide us. We must consider the consequences. Humanity is young, but it is also capable. Their survival indicates intelligence, strategy, and endurance. These are qualities we cannot ignore. Outside the station, the iron resolve drifted quietly. Sensors scanned the surrounding fleets, reading energy levels, positions, and potential threats. Captain Myra stood on the bridge, her arms crossed as she observed the alien fleets. Her calm presence inspired confidence in her crew. One officer approached her, voice hesitant. "Captain, some fleets are still uncertain. They may attempt another challenge if they think we hesitate." Myra nodded slightly. "Let them consider. We do not need to prove ourselves again. Strength is shown by persistence, not repetition. Our actions have spoken. Now it is their choice whether to accept us." Back in the council chamber, the debate continued. Some smaller species began to reconsider their stance. They had feared the humans as unpredictable, but now they saw a pattern. The humans were strong, disciplined, and capable of measured decisions. That combination was rare among the galaxy's powers. A representative of the Solari Guild, a peaceful species known for diplomacy, rose to speak. "I suggest caution, but also opportunity. Humans may be young, but their abilities and resilience are evident. We may gain more by aligning with them than by opposing them." Others nodded in agreement. Even some of the older empires, who had initially scorned humanity, began to see potential in cooperation rather than confrontation. The Sith warlord hissed in frustration, his claws tapping the table. "I do not trust them. I will not sit beside them at any council. They may be strong, but strength alone cannot replace centuries of knowledge and tradition." The council leader turned to him, voice firm. "The council does not act according to the anger of one empire. Humanity has shown its place in the stars by surviving, by choosing restraint, and by declaring itself as equals. Whether you trust them is your own matter, but the council must decide based on evidence, not fear." Whispers filled the room. Some feared that recognizing humans would shift the balance of power. Others understood that ignoring them could be dangerous. The decision weighed heavily on the chamber. Finally, the leader raised his hand for silence. "We will grant humanity a provisional seat among the council. Their actions demonstrate capability, and their presence cannot be ignored. They will be observed, but they are now part of the system's future." The room was quiet for a moment, the weight of the announcement sinking in. Humanity's rise had been sudden, unexpected, and undeniable. The younger species began to murmur their approval, while the older powers were left to adapt. Across the system, the iron resolve remained still, its engines glowing softly. The alien fleets held their positions, uncertain but no longer hostile. Captain Myra's voice came through the comms once more, clear and steady. "Humanity will honor the trust shown. We do not seek domination. We do not seek conflict. We seek partnership and respect. This is how we choose to stand among the stars." Her words were received with silence at first, then cautious acknowledgement. Across the fleets, the first signs of acceptance appeared. Aliens who had doubted humanity now saw the opportunity to work with a species that had shown courage, intelligence, and restraint. In that moment, the galaxy began to shift. The old rules of power were not gone, but the presence of humanity demanded a new order. The whispers of doubt were replaced by curiosity, and curiosity began to grow into respect. The council would continue to debate, alliances would be reconsidered, and some would still oppose. But one truth was now clear: humanity had arrived, and it would not be ignored. And as the iron resolve drifted among the stars, its captain and crew understood that their place in the galaxy was no longer a question. They had proven themselves, and the galaxy had taken notice. The council chamber hummed with tension as delegates gathered for the final vote. Months of debate, whispers, and cautious observation had led to this moment. Humanity had shown strength, restraint, and determination. The iron resolve had proven itself capable of surviving, of controlling its power, and of standing without aggression. Yet the question remained: would the council recognize humans as equals? The council leader rose, his eyes scanning the chamber. We have witnessed actions that speak louder than any words. Humanity has arrived, not with demands, but with proof of capability and wisdom beyond their years. It is time to decide their place among the stars. The room fell silent. Delegates shifted nervously, knowing that the decision would alter the balance of power. Some feared it, others welcomed it. The vote began. Representatives spoke in turn. The Free Union of Velos, the Solari Guild, and several smaller species cast their support quickly. They have earned our respect, said the Solari representative. They have proven themselves with discipline and courage. The Uran collective remained cautious, their crystalline bodies glinting under the chamber lights. We will observe, but we accept their seat. Strength paired with control is rare, and humans have shown both. The Zith warlord, still fuming from past defeats, hissed and banged his claws on the table. I do not agree. I do not trust them. But the council speaks, and I will not break the rules of the gathering. One by one, the votes were tallied. The final count was clear. Humanity had been granted a provisional seat among the stars. They were no longer outsiders, no longer a young species to be ignored. They were now part of the Galactic Council, acknowledged for their strength, wisdom, and perseverance. Outside, the fleets of the Council waited as the announcement spread through the comm channels. Across thousands of ships, silence turned to murmurs of curiosity and respect. Some ships performed cautious maneuvers as if bowing to the arrival of a new power. Others simply watched, studying the humans who had arrived with nothing but confidence and resolve. The iron resolve shifted slightly in space, its engines glowing softly as if acknowledging the decision. Captain Myra stood on the bridge, calm and composed. Her crew worked efficiently, though some allowed themselves small smiles. They had proven themselves not just to the council but to the galaxy itself. Myra turned to her first officer, a young human named Kellen. This is only the beginning, she said. The galaxy will watch us closely. Our strength is recognized, but we must earn their trust and their respect every day. Kellen nodded. They will come to see our actions speak louder than our words. The council chamber received one final message from the Iron Resolve. Myra's voice carried across the system, firm yet respectful. Humanity accepts its place among the stars. We do not seek conflict, we do not seek dominance. We seek partnership, cooperation, and respect. Let this day mark a new era, where all species can work together for the future. The words were received in silence first, then with cautious acknowledgement. Slowly, the fleets of the Council relaxed. Aliens who had doubted humanity began to see the potential for alliance and cooperation. The young species that had feared the humans now whispered admiration and hope. Even the Zith warlord, still simmering with pride, could not ignore the truth. Humanity had not broken the Council, nor had it attacked recklessly. They had arrived with power, endured challenges, and earned their place without bending to threats or aggression. In the months that followed, humanity began to establish its presence more firmly. Representatives were sent to council meetings, trade agreements were negotiated, and technology shared in limited, careful ways. Humans became known as a species that could survive and thrive in the galaxy, not through force alone, but through intelligence, discipline, and determination. Across the stars, whispers of the iron resolve continued. Stories spread of the battleship that had entered a foreign system, faced a superior fleet, and emerged unbroken. Young species spoke of humans with admiration, while older empires adjusted their strategies to account for this new presence. The galaxy had changed. The silence that had once greeted humanity was gone, replaced by recognition, respect, and cautious expectation. Humans were no longer a distant curiosity. They were a force, a partner, and a power to be considered carefully in every decision. And as the iron resolve moved through the Veyron system, Captain Myra gazed out at the stars. She felt a quiet pride, not in victory, but in humanity's enduring spirit. The battleship carried not just weapons and shields, but the symbol of a species that had refused to be dismissed, that had faced the galaxy without fear, and that had earned its place among the stars. The dawn of recognition had arrived. Humanity was no longer silent, no longer unseen. Its voice, its power, and its presence would shape the future of the galaxy for generations to come. And the Council, the fleets, and every species that watched understood one undeniable truth: humanity had arrived to stay.